Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles. Speaking of Rear Admiral Jingles, you can probably, don't quote me on this, expect me to be in the game in the next patch. I recently re-recorded my voice lines. Wargaming have them, now it's all up to them. I don't know how long it's going to take them to process the voice lines. They might not make the next patch, so, you know, like I said, I don't want to get your hopes up, but maybe in time for the next patch. Anyway, what have we got for you today? Good question, glad you asked. Today we have something that I don't think I've ever shown you before. No, not a Minotaur. We've seen Minotaur replays all the time. Not quite as popular a ship as it was before the Worcester was introduced, but still a good, solid Tier 10 light cruiser. No, what we're seeing today is a very unusual Minotaur. This is a radar Minotaur. Yes, today we're going maximum Minotaur. What's so unusual about the Minotaur with the radar? Well, in order to equip the radar consumable, you have to make a pretty hard choice and give up the smokescreen consumable, and that's the kind of safety blanket that most players do not want to do without. And the reason most players really don't want to do without that kind of smokescreen safety blanket is because the Minotaur is the squishiest of squishy light cruisers. It's basically just a really big destroyer, but a really big destroyer with a citadel. Spin0saurus 1212 here, of course, is not most players. He's put on his man pants, he's taken his brave pills. Today he's really going for it. His name does seem very familiar though. Have we featured him before? Or am I thinking of another Spin0saurus entirely? Or am I just getting completely mixed up and I'm thinking of Jurassic World Evolution? Whatever the truth of the matter, friendly Kagero pushing into the cap circle. Fairly ballsy move, despite the fact that he should outspot everything on the enemy team other than possibly the enemy Kagero, but there are a lot of radar cruisers around. Like the Moskva down there, for example, which has a very long-range radar, and it's at around about this point where Spin0saurus gets spotted, and there's nothing in visual range, so he pops his radar, and sure enough, it's the enemy Kagero. Enemy Kagero instantly abandons any plans that he had to take the cap and goes evasive. And he's clearly thinking, he's not trying to hide in the smokescreen, he knows he's been radared, he understands the difference. The friendly Kagero, who at this point has almost certainly been spotted visually by the enemy destroyer, actually starts shooting at it. I mean, if you're spotted anyway, you don't have a lot to lose. I thought it may have been possible that he had been radared, potentially by the Edinburgh down there. You never know, it might be a radar Edinburgh, unlikely, but also possibly by the Moskva. Friendly Kagero would have been just inside the outer limit of the Moskva's radar range, but once he ducked into cover behind the side of the island, he then turns around and heads back towards the cap circle, so I suspect he wasn't actually radared. So, assuming that the friendly Kagero over there has managed to go undetected, and Spin0saurus in the Minotaur is now the closest visible target, pretty much everybody starts unloading on him. He takes a chunk there from the Minotaur, some shots from possibly the Republique or the Moskva, thankfully miss. More shots coming in, I'm pretty sure from the Edinburgh, down to the south of that group of islands over there, but he has managed to go undetected once again. Now, the problem here, aside from all the health that he just lost, is that with the exception of that very, very optimistic Grosser Kurfürst and the Kagero there's nobody else down by this cap circle, and the enemy team, as well as the Edinburgh, the Montana, and yep, the Kagero did survive. Those are going to be his torpedoes, as well as those guys that we know about. We also have, pushing over in this direction from Cap Circle Delta, where they've just taken it, two Republics, a Kitakazi, that Moskva, and an enemy Minotaur. Okay, we've now confirmed, pretty much as we expected, that that is not a radar Edinburgh. He's got a smokescreen. And there is a lot of smoke that's been laid between Spin0saurus and those enemy ships. And that's really good news, because it means he doesn't actually need to have his own smokescreen. The Kagero has laid a pattern of smoke right across the mouth of that channel. Both Spin0saurus, and to a lesser degree the Grosser Kurfürst, are able to take advantage of it. More importantly, they have visibility of these targets, not all of them, but enough to do some serious damage because the Kagero is not lurking inside the smokescreen. He's out there, and he's actually spotting targets. The Republique zigged when it should have zagged. It managed to run itself aground. It's sitting broadside on, not just in front of Spin0saurus's guns, but also the guns of the Grosser Kurfürst, who very sensibly didn't just blunder around the corner, and is now trying to kind of reverse side scrape to get some shots into that Republique. The Republique is given one hell of a target there, although, well, you know, it's a Grosser Kurfürst. It's like firing a shotgun. If the shots hit, great, but we're not going to count on it. Meanwhile, it looks like the Kagero has been forced to abandon the cap circle. I don't know if that's because the Moskva has finally used his radar, or it's possible, if you look at the minimap, the enemy Z-52 popped up momentarily heading down this way from the direction of Charlie. Either way, the Kagero decided that things were far too hot for him and he's bugged out. You can see that he's on about half health there. It turns out that the Republic actually gets away with it. I don't know if the Grosser Kurfürst ever actually fired at him, but if he did, it was mostly ineffective, and he's lost a fair old chunk of health. He's managed to pull a U-turn, at which point he was exposing broadside not just to the Republic, but also to the Montana that was down there. And right now, it looks like he's been farmed by that Edinburgh. Moskva, very inviting target. Technically in range, actually, probably not. Somebody on the enemy team is flipping Bravo. Radar, please. Well, it's not the Kagero. I mean, the radar lit the Kagero up. He's come back for another go, but he was actually spotted outside of the cap circle. The radar has, however, also lit up the Z-52, which I think is the reason why the friendly Kagero abandoned the cap circle in the first place. But a kill's a kill. Enemy Kagero got away with it once. We're not going to let him get away with it twice. And there's the Z-52. There's only 10 seconds left on the radar, but sadly at this point he's just outside the radar's maximum range, and his capture progress has been completely reset. I don't know who it was who hit him. I mean, Spin0saurus hit him just there, but his cap progress had been completely reset before that. There he is, but again only momentarily visible, and he is kind of reversing away. Spin0saurus isn't the only ship here that has a radar, though. There's a Chapayev, and he's using his radar right now. Now, that's obviously not great news for the Z-52, but it's nowhere near as bad as it could have been, because he's only going to stay detected momentarily. The Chapayev has used the radar when, once again, the Z-52 is right at the extreme limits of the range, and hardly anybody is actually in a position to shoot at him. Chapayev certainly isn't. He's managed to pop his radar with not one but two islands, obscuring line of fire between himself and the target that really desperately needs to get sunk, that Z-52, because, well, the team could use the kills for one thing, they could also use the points, and they could use the caps. The enemy team are ahead on points, ahead on kills, and they've got 2 of the 3 cap circles. The only good thing about that whole exchange was that the Z-52 was forced to abandon the cap circle, but he hasn't gone far because the Chapayev's radar has ended and the Z-52 is now hiding inside the smokescreen, admittedly outside of the cap circle, but he's hydroing the Kagero, and the Kagero has now been sunk. All of that effort for nothing, and the team still haven't managed to get control of Bravo. So what should have been the relatively straightforward destruction of an enemy destroyer resulting in the flipping of a capture circle for the team has instead turned into the destruction of a friendly destroyer, and Bravo is being flipped for the enemy team instead. The Z-52 has almost certainly sneaked back over the border of the cap circle, nice and safe, inside the cover of that smokescreen. Or perhaps not, because Spin0saurus' radar is ready to go again. There's just one teeny tiny problem with that. If you look at the minimap, you can see that green circle outside the dotted circle. That's exactly the same range as this radar, and it doesn't quite overlap the borders of that cap circle. Well, if we don't have a Z-52 to shoot at, how about a broadsiding Edinburgh who has been spotted by radar and isn't nearly as safe inside that smokescreen as he thinks he is? Ooh, and a Moskva. Ooh, and a Minotaur. And oh no, there's a Republic over there. Oh, this isn't good. We have to motor forward now and get out of line of fire of all of those very, very angry enemy ships. The radar has finally picked up the Z-52, but it's a little bit too late. He's already managed to cap. He's on his way out, and the radar expires, and the Z-52, against all the odds, very risky move there from him, but it worked. He survived. He managed to flip Bravo for his team. Spin0saurus now has something of a problem. He's basically stuck behind this island. He had to duck in here to avoid getting obliterated just now, but it's pretty much a case of out of the frying pan and into the fire, because there are 3 Tier 10 battleships, 2 Tier 10 cruisers, a Tier 8 cruiser, potentially also the Z-52, right on the other side of this island. And all of those Tier 10 battleships, the Montana and the 2 Republics, can citadel a Minotaur from any angle. So he's stuck behind this island. He cannot go anywhere. If he tries to run, they'll see him, and he's a dead man. The only possible thing that he might have in his favour is just how much or how little attention all of those enemy ships were paying to their mini-map about a minute ago. Because if they know he's here, he's dead. But if they're not expecting there to be a Minotaur lurking behind this island, a Minotaur who, as a British cruiser, has the ability to ripple fire its torpedoes, which means if one of them hits, they're all going to hit. And that's going to be extremely bad news for the admittedly extremely well-named Boaty McBoatface in the Montana. And that has to be the easiest 60,000 damage I think I've ever seen anybody score. I think they know he's here by now, but just to be sure, they're going to pop their radar. It's a little bit late. Yeah, they know he's here now. Boaty McBoatface in the Montana at least has the good grace to say well played in chats, which was nice of him. And a smoke screen for Spin0saurus, of course, at this point wouldn't have been any use at all, but the radar, on the other hand, oh, it's the Z. I was expecting it to be the Edinburgh. No, it's the Z52. Well, he got away once, he got away twice, he's not going to get away 3 times. I mean, he's trying to back up, but yeah, too little, too late. He pushed his luck 1 time too many. But speaking of pushing your luck, there is a Republic closing in. Now, the Minotaur can be citadeled from the front by anybody armed with 221mm guns or better, and that thing has 431mm guns. But he's made a severe miscalculation. He's actually too close. He can't get the gun barrels pointed down low enough to actually do anything other than hit Spin0saurus in the superstructure. And thinking that he was actually guaranteed an easy kill here, he sailed right into the firing arcs of the port side torpedo launchers. Next! Oh wow, they are all going for it. Does the Edinburgh think he's going to be able to get his torpedoes away? Well, you know what, he might. But he's going to have to run the gauntlet of these rapid-firing 152mm guns. What the hell are we watching here? It's like they're all just lining up to die. Torpedoes have reloaded, looking for the shot on the Second Republic. You'd think that at this point they'd be aware that there's something very spiky and torpedo-y on the far side of this island, but apparently not. The Mossfer's the only one that's had the sense to actually give him a wide berth. And that could have been dangerous, but the Mossfer had high explosive loaded. And the Mossfer doesn't have a huge amount of health to play with. Spin0saurus's radar is out, but he's popped his hydro, which is convincing the enemy Minotaur to stay on the far side of this island. Oh, the Mossfer is almost down. It's definitely worth another shot. He managed to get the shot away without being spotted. The Minotaur is being pummeled. It looks like the torpedoes are not going to hit the Republic. He's killed the Mossfer. This is kill number 6. Hydro running, so of course plenty of warning of the Minotaur's torpedoes. Now he's going to have to think about this very carefully. It could be that his luck has just run out because the Republic has managed to avoid his torpedoes, so must know that he's here. Although it's possible he might not be expecting a second set of torpedoes because the Minotaur has 2 sets of torpedo launchers on each side. No sign of the Minotaur around the other side of the island. And he is going to be detected by the Republic any second now. But the Republic's guns aren't even pointing in this direction. So he's free to farm him. There's the Minotaur. He's following the Republic around. There's the high caliber award. Those torpedoes are actually looking pretty good. Oh, he's taken hits. The Kremlin's on the other side, but these are now the last 3 surviving enemy ships. He's leaving the torpedoes to finish off the Republic, switching fire to the broadsiding enemy Minotaur. He doesn't even appear to be shooting at him. I mean, the guns are pointing in this direction, but he's not actually firing. I have no idea why. Oh, he's down, but he's got the Republic. He's got the Minotaur. There's a double strike. 8 kills, and the only ship left on the enemy team is the Kremlin. The Kremlin knows he's done, 1 against 5. The Chapayev grows a pair of balls, but picks the wrong moment and the wrong target to do it against, and basically gifts a consolation kill to the Kremlin there. But it's going to be 4 against 1, and the Kremlin isn't going to get any more kills. And all of this happened more or less exactly because the enemy team, and they even said it in chat earlier, just refused to push Spin0saurus's position. All of that damage inflicted by 1 Minotaur in the wrong place, but at the right time, and with the right consumables, because the smokescreen wouldn't have helped him 1 bit. Tucked in behind that island, inside hydro range, inside radar range, and at one point inside proximity detection range. So that's 8 kills, 267,000 damage done, and perhaps more impressively, 980,000 potential damage tanked in a light cruiser for Spinosaurus 1212 in HMS Minotaur. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.